Good morning and welcome back to the Emporium. Today is going to be a review, but it's going to be for the movie distributor uh, Bayview Entertainment. You can currently get Bayview Entertainment through your Roku channel. It is a free service. I did find that out. It's free of charge. Doesn't cost you anything. You just download the app. First, you have to search for Bayview Entertainment or Bayview Movies, and it should take you right there to the search. You just click on, get app and let it download, and then you'll have it. I have a vast number of movies on there. I've checked them out a little bit here and there. They have a little bit of everything, but let's get started on the review. Once again, I said Bayview Entertainment has a Roku channel, free of charge. But like I said, let's get started on the review. Uh, Name of the movie is obviously Todd. It's rated 4.7 on IMDb. It is a drama mystery thriller. That's what it's listed as on IMDb. It came out January 21st of this year. Clocks in at about an hour and a half and has a budget of about $100,000, and they did an amazing job with $100,000. It was written and directed by Aaron Warren, as well as James Catazone was the writer as well. It stars Michael Winslow from the very popular comedic series, movie series, Police Academy, and it is the very one and only Michael Winslow. Chloe Marie Rhoades is the bar patron. Eliana Ghen as Helen Franklin, and Hans Hernke that played Todd in this, Todd Platt. I just went with what IMDb had as the top stars. I didn't want to write everyone down because that's quite an extensive list that they had. But the main lady that plays in this movie is her name is Amy in the movie, not her real name. I didn't have time to go back and see what her real name was, but stars of this movie, like I said, were Michael Winslow, pretty much, and Amy. And the filming locations were done in and around Orlando, Florida. The production companies Am I the Butterfly, Dangerous Curves Productions, Greenway Entertainment, Payne Productions, LLC, and SF&N Productions as well. And our main distributor here was Bayview Entertainment. The tagline for the movie is The Odd Man Out. And it very much fits the tone of this movie with this actor that played in here because he is very odd. But it's no fault of his own, really. We'll find that out later on. But we open the thriller with Todd laying in his bedroom, where he starts off his day with a morning schedule, goes to the bathroom and whatnot. And his choice of breakfast on this morning is an orange, which he slices and kind of just sits there and panders, while he's eating it. We get a shot of him sitting on his couch, and we see he has 9 bottles of medication, so this tells you what he's kind of going through in this movie. He's probably out of his mind with all that medication. Todd is then shown going to a doctor's office, and he creeps the secretary out while he's waiting for his shrink. But she knows he's been there several times, so she kind of dismisses it, and they call him in. But before he goes in, he starts arranging the stuff on her desk like in an OCD fashion. I kind of relate with him here because I'm kind of like that too. He's moving stuff around on her desk till it meets his approval, and she just kind of like looks at him. But people have to understand when you have OCD, it's not nothing you can help. It's just you see things different than other people. It's not doesn't mean you're strange at all. I'm thinking, in fact, I wish more people were, caring about things like that. It seems his daily problems he has this odd condition. He tells the doctor that the meds are not making him any better. It seems he's been getting he got an inheritance that probably because he's been going to the shrink and the medications and stuff that he's running up pretty big bills, and the inheritance is nearly gone. It said that his parents died in a car crash tragically when he was very young. Uh, that it kind of explains why he's kind of got this major depression going on, and the world kind of feels like it's rejecting him. He tells the doctor that he well, no, the doctor tells him maybe to get a job, maybe to kind of keep his mind at bay, and that the doctor said he will prescribe him something different as the other medicine's not working. He finishes his session hoping that is the problem. The next scene, we see Todd then bump into a girl who is window shopping, and she's not happy at first because I think it startled her, and then he's not overly happy about, but he sees it's a younger lady around his age, and he's trying to meet somebody more or less here and there. But then she becomes overly apologetic to him. She feels bad about scolding him, and then apologizes to him and he tells her just to be careful. And they both go their own way. But you get the feeling that they will meet up later in the movie, more or less. And this is when it's established her name's Amy. Well, it isn't established that her name's Amy, but I wrote it down here as a reminder to what her name is in the movie for me, not so much the viewer. Todd then goes back to his place where he falls asleep, but not without talking to himself about all the bad stuff in his life going on. We then see Todd's doctor, and he's at home having dinner with his family. The doctor seems to be at odds with his family over just about everything. His wife claims it's from all the stress of his job. She tells the daughter later on. The daughter in this, I can kind of see why the father's kind of bitter towards the daughter. She's kind of spoiled in certain scenes in this, I feel. Like, Dad, you don't spend enough time with me, that kind of thing. And I don't know if she realizes it, but when you're a shrink, like, you bring your problems home. I mean, I know it's hard. I know they separate home life from being a shrink, but it's kind of hard to separate stuff when stuff's, stressing you out. And I think his job leads him to be kind of an alcoholic, if you will. But I mean, I kind of get it too, though, just because I wouldn't want to hear somebody's problems all day. It's got to be very negative and, not a very positive experience. They have a bit of a fight at the dinner table. So he goes into the TV room, and the wife walks in, and they have a heated discussion about his lack of love for his daughter and the lack of time he's spending with the family. She tells him he needs to find a better way, more or less, or he's going to lose the both of them if he's not careful. And then it cuts away from that scene, and then we see the girl who Todd bumped into working in a diner as a waitress, and a friend of hers, another waitress, points that there's this odd man sitting in a booth all alone, and she tells her she kind of knows him, and she tells her friend that this is a guy that she must have told her friend at the diner that she ran into at the store window. It just so happens that he's sitting in our main girl's station, and she has to go wait on him. So she takes his order, and he starts to get nervous and make a really corny joke when she comes to wait on him. The thing is, all he orders at this time is a glass of water. She leaves, and he gets out a bottle of pills. She goes back and tells her friend at the diner that Todd is kind of a cute-looking guy, but she says he's a bit odd, and they both agree. I don't really know how the one friend really knew too much about Todd from a distance. I mean, you can be socially awkward, but she was already judging him which I thought was kind of, I don't know how you want to word it, kind of presumptuous. Like, you can't look at somebody and say, well, that guy's weird. You know what I mean? You can, but you can't. You know, it's just kind of, I don't know. I just thought they were kind of reaching there. Like, we don't really know if somebody's odd until we get to kind of, meet them a little bit. Uh, she thinks overall he's cute, and she goes there. She back to him, and she thinks he's harmless, more or less. And she tells when she goes back that the owner doesn't like people to just order water, obviously, because I mean, how much could you charge somebody for water, and they're taking up a booth, for something from somebody that could, be buying an entree or whatever. Uh, he tells her he is fine, and he more or less semi slims down a small stash of cash on the where he's eating, and it kind of hints at a bit of a temper. He leaves. Then they notice another man who thinks the two waitresses notice a guy at the end of the at the front of the restaurant. They notice that he's sitting there, and they look. The one girl thinks he looks really familiar, like he's an action star or whatever. It seems like our waitress friend here is trying to set up the girl Amy with this action star, if you will, or alleged action star. He seems overly flirtatious with her for not really knowing her. He's more or less selling her a bill of goods about how if they go back to her apartment, that maybe he can get her a few small parts in the film. She's eating it all up. Meantime, she gets off her shift and leaves with the would-be star, but Todd, it seems, is watching her from the distance too, as well, because he's never really went home, and he looks really mad that she's getting in the car with this man. So I think this is where it sets him off in the movie, because he feels like there was a connection there, and he kind of feels betrayed now, which I kind of get to a point with. I don't know, I kind of felt a little bit of chemistry between the two. Not nothing where you should assume you're going to go out with somebody, but I kind of felt like there was, because she did say in one part she found him kind of attractive. And then they go back to her apartment, and we see that the two were in bed and obviously having sex. Uh, he tells her after they're done that he can get her this part in the film. And he goes, "Can we just relax and then go to bed?" And they both go back to bed, and then we notice morning comes and he's no longer there. Basically, he got her in bed, and that's all. It was basic. He was scamming her into going to bed with him, basically. And then we see that she starts crying that morning and feeling used. Obviously, it was a jerk thing to do. We then see Todd with his doctor, and this is the next morning, and the doc asked how the new meds are doing personally, and Todd tells him they make him feel nothing whatsoever. It seems this office visit, Todd is coming off the rails after last night, and it seems he seems agitated with his doctor. It feels like the session is a disaster, if you will. Not to mention he refuses to give Todd any further medications, which really, I don't know. As long as he's not getting physically altercated with the doctor, I don't think he should have did this. I think this is a mistake the doctor made. Due to his demeanor, I guess he stops giving him medications. Todd blows it off and proceeds to walk out the office, but not before knocking a bowl of candy out of a patient's hands on the way out the door. And the secretary comes over to help the kid pick it back up. And the guy kind of goes, "What's his effing problem?" That kind of thing. And it was a kind of a funny scene, because there really wasn't a lot of funny things in here. And then it shows, this is when we first see actor Michael Winslow pop up in the film. And he plays the bartender Jake in this. And he's doing his shtick like he does in the Police Academy films. where he sounds like he's pouring a drink into a glass, and he's going whoop 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 whoop, like he's, that kind of thing. It's kind of funny to see. The doc is approached by a very attractive lady, because apparently this is a bar that he goes to when he's not at the office. She starts hitting on him and they start talking about different things, kind of seductively a little bit. And he tells her he's married more or less, and he needs to leave and get back home to his family, but not without sucking down the last of his drink. And he leaves. We then see Todd at the eatery, or the diner, if you will, and he's waiting for the waitress to get off work, Amy, and he follows her out the door, and he keeps trying to get closer to her when she's walking up the plaza, like kind of like it's like a plaza, but you're walking up the sidewalk, but then there's like pillars ever so often over the roof and stuff. Well, he's like sneaking up behind her, and he's trying to get to her to like be like right by her, like he wants to walk with her. And every time she turns around, he kind of ducks behind a pillar, and she's hearing things, but she doesn't know what's going on. And he does that about 4 or 5 times, and then finally she gets freaked out the last time because he gets really close, and then I don't know how she didn't see him that time, because it's not like he's got blazing speed or something like that. But she gets really spooked and runs off, and then it shows the doctor, and he's at home fighting with his wife about being home late and him stopping off at the bar because he obviously smells of liquor. And she tells him that you're shutting us out. She threatens to leave him along with their daughter if he doesn't start including them in his life. It felt like to me that maybe the doctor had a bit of a drinking issue too, maybe in the past leading up to this movie. If this was, like if there was a pre-story to this, like there's been issues of drinking. He's losing his family a little bit more every day. The acting is very believable in this film with this family. I feel like they're actually a bona fide family, by the way. But the wife assures the daughter later on that things will be better, or they'll have to, or they'll leave and they'll go their merry way. Todd is then shown taking more of his meds and what's left of his meds from his original prescription, and he pulls out a gun and he kind of looks at it, and he goes, "Hello, Amy," and he's kind of like looking at, like, you could tell, like he has plans to kill her or terrorize her with a gun, I guess. I guess because of her leaving with the guy the night before, it set him off, more or less, is what I wrote in my review here. Kind of like my transcript for what, about the movie. Back to the bar, where our good friend Jake, the bartender, serving up more drinks. The doctor comes walking in. He tells Jake, the bartender, tells the doc that he's seen an awful lot of the doc in there lately. Is everything okay at home? And in my opinion, he needs to stay away from this bar, more or less, if he can. It only goes to make things worse going forward for him and his family. He grabs a couple drinks and swears he's headed home. I do think that he needs a shoulder to lean on, and Jake is that guy, though. So, he gets a little bit of consoling from Jake as well, which is good. That's something he needs, but not when you're surrounded by liquor, and if you've got, drinking issues, you shouldn't be at a bar. But he does leave after his couple of drinks, and he swears that's all he's going to have and go home, which is good. He does have a little bit of self-control, and he does care. You can tell at this point. We then see Todd mapping out the address of the doctor's place of where he lives, hinting that he's probably going to be terrorizing him at some point. Todd is then shown sneaking into Amy's apartment, which gets to do this quite a bit from here on in. He kind of gets into her apartment. The first time he tries, he sneaks in and watches her shower. Some pretty good suspense building moments here in the movie. it's kind of creepy, to see a guy walk in and see a girl showering and he's just kind of like enjoying it. And it's, I don't know, just the way his facial features and demeanor is kind of creepy here. We then see the doctor tell the secretary, this must have been sometime later, he got with his secretary and asked her if Todd Platt, the main guy in this movie, had called to any more, prescriptions, or if he'd been, keeping in touch with the office after their blow up. I think the doctor had a conscience at this point that he kind of ruined it with Todd. We then see our waitress back at the eatery. It kind of cuts back and forth to different scenes, like a lot. Like there's a lot of different scenes, like more than normal. Like there's very short stints with different Like they did a good job of getting a lot of actors in an hour and a half. They kind of all played off, each other. We see the two waitresses count. The one's counting her tips, saying now she can pay her bills. Todd wants apparently is there as well, and they start to make a wager with each other that Todd in the diner will only order water. Amy, main actress here, Amy finally is able to wait on him because the place is swamped with customers. They make a little talk, Amy and Todd, and he swerves her this time. He doesn't get water, he gets the lunch special, which Amy bet that he'd pick water, and the other waitress picked that he'd get something else, so she was right. The other waitress wins the bet, much to Amy's surprise. I like the chemistry between Amy and Todd, though, in certain scenes. Like, they play off each other pretty good for, like, Psycho, and then this lonely waitress that wants a relationship with somebody nice, that kind of thing. That pretty much ends that scene. He gets the special, but they don't really show any of that. We then see the doctor back home having dinner with his family, and he seems much happier on that night. The doctor is trying to get along with both of his women in his life, his wife and his daughter. But I feel like the daughter comes off very drama queen-like in this movie for me. I just did not like her. She's a good actress, but I don't like the character. I felt like she's very whiny. Later on, she gets mad at the father of the doctor here at some point and walks away from the table, and they later have a heart-to-heart about what, they need to do to mend their relationship. The daughter comes off to me, like I said, very selfish in the film. Like I've said earlier in the review, being a shrink and having a family has to be tough, but he has to manage to do both, I guess, if he wants his family around, from what, we're getting to see here. We then see Todd standing over Amy while she's sleeping. At some point, he's caressing her hair, and it kind of half wakes her up, but she doesn't come fully to. It's a really creepy scene, kind of like if you stand over somebody and you're kind of caressing their hair, and you kind of feel the wind from it, but not enough to wake you up. Me, I'm kind of like the kind of person that would wake up right away, but that's just kind of me. But it was a very creepy scene. It's still I still kind of remember the scene pretty memorably. Lots of scene switches in this film. They then show the secretary. She tells the doc the next morning that she did get in touch with Todd, and he seems very agitated, which sends up a red flag with the doctor. So she went and booked Todd a new appointment because I guess they must have felt bad, so they give him a new appointment. Amy is then seen coming home from work, but not before she is approached by her landlord, who tells her that the door was open about an inch, and she goes, "No, it wasn't." She goes, "I locked the door," and I've come to find out it was open. They didn't show it, but he assures her it was open. And he asked her, "Do you want me to go in and look around to make sure, no one's in there?" And she's like, "No, that's not necessary." And we then later see Todd going through a stack of pictures of Amy. I guess it must have been pictures he was taking, I guess. he's looking at them obsessively and looking for one in particular. And in the bag, he gets the picture he wants, and he starts to talk to it, and then he's cutting around with it, with these little Fisker scissors, and he's like cutting her outline, and he puts it on a board, and then later it's showed that he's got his whole board full of Amy, like he's obsessed with her. And then he puts the one picture at the time he had none on. He puts the picture on the wall, and it's like this bluish purple corkboard kind of thing, and he starts talking to her like she's there. A very odd and creepy scene. Another one. This is where the movie kind of gets on the creepier side. Not that it was a creepy for me because I've seen it all, but it would be for if you're especially if you're a single girl living alone. Todd is then shown going to his new session with the doctor. The doctor tells him that they need to start over again and bury the hatchet, more or less. But Todd is already looking for arguments. He begins to start asking the doctor personal questions about his family life, which is not what you do when you go to a shrink. You don't start asking the shrink about what's going on in their life, because they don't. I know that for a fact. I've attended anger management classes before, and I've had therapy sessions with a doctor before, and they don't like it if you ask questions. I think I asked a question like that once, and I didn't it wasn't nothing personal. It's just a question, and they don't like it when you ask questions. So the doctor turns it back on Todd, and Todd starts to talk about the doctor's home address, which starts troubling the doctor, because why do you want to know where I live, that kind of thing. Todd keeps repeating his address and letting us know as the viewer that more or less he's probably going to come to his home at some point and terrorize his family. Todd is then shown later on. He's coming to her house so often, he more or less reveals himself as he is coming into her apartment. He's sitting in her chair. He then pops up and hands her a rose. And at first she doesn't realize it's Todd because he doesn't have his glasses on, which he still looked like Todd to me, but we're supposed to sell this part of the movie as he more or less looked different without his glasses. She asked him about how did he get in her house, and she wonders how he knows her name, because he finds it out without her knowledge. She tries to call the police, but not before he aims a gun at her first. He tells her to put on the dress that he picked her out. He asks her to undress, telling her she's beautiful. There's no nudity in this scene. There is nudity in the film, but I didn't really want to get into that. It's not necessary. I just thought I'd tell the viewer at home or friends that are watching the review, in case that bothers them. He then wants to dance with her. He tells her he does not want to hurt her. He loves her. For some reason, she don't recognize him, like I said, until he puts the glasses on. It's a pretty good tension between the two. He asks her if she loves him. She doesn't answer him, so he starts to choke her, but then he feels remorse for what he did to try to hurt her, just over asking her about loving him. Then Todd points the gun up to his face, and then he feels humiliated that he harmed her a little bit and thinks about killing himself, but chooses not to do so. This is where we see him. I don't know if he went back home after he ran out of there, or if he was out in her living room and he was going crazy. I think he went back home. It was kind of confusing because it was like bing and bing, and it was like he wasn't there no more, and he was like looking at all, they had all these pictures scattered. I guess it must have been back at home, but he was going like this, and he's put kind of like an autistic kid would do, putting his hands over his ears, screaming and whatnot. I wonder if he didn't have a form of that as well, because he kind of seemed distant at times when someone would confront him. We then see Todd targeting the doctor, where he sees the daughter getting home late, and he does, in fact, go over to the doctor's house. That starts saying stuff that she has no idea what he's even talking about because she doesn't even know who he is. He's a patient of her dad's. Uh, Once they get inside, obviously she had no choice but to let Todd in too because he's got a gun pointed to her jawline. Once the doc and his wife are down in the living room and they're watching what looks like TV or down in the TV room, and they go, "Boy, she's getting home late." And wife goes to see what the noise is, and it's Todd, and he's pointing the gun right at the daughter, well, at the wife and the everybody, her, the daughter, and they're going down the set of stairs, and she pleads with Todd to not hurt their daughter. Uh, he has the family freaked out at this point. The wife has no idea who this guy is, and neither does the daughter. Um, the doc knows who he is, and he explains to the family who he is, and he goes, "Todd, do you want money?" And it's more personal with that with Todd. I think Todd felt betrayed with the way the doctor treated him, and once again, he's kind of a loner and always on the outside of everything. Uh, he more or less, Todd at this point has a meltdown. I think with him, he had a lot of trust in the doctor, and he tells the doc that he's lucky on this night that his family saves him, because I think he had plans to kill at least the doctor, and he goes to leave, but not before shooting at the ceiling and leaving. We then see Todd at a church the next morning, and this is a really kind of sad part here. He's tired and confused from the night before. He's repenting before God, if you will, saying, "Why did you take my family in the car accident?" I feel really bad for him here, though. I don't blame him at all for, a lot of it. I don't really blame him. He maybe should have been institutionalized, maybe, or, had someone stay in his care. Uh, um, all he wants really is someone in his life, and he feels like God's. It's not a religious film, but this is a scene. He feels like God slighted him, losing both his mother and the father in a car accident, and then shows himself later on shoot himself in the head because he can't deal with it no more because he's hurt the one woman that he does love. We see a flashback of all of his traumatic moments from earlier in the movie, and we even get a shot of the accident scene, and it looked like to me Todd was a baby. That's what it looked like to me. Maybe I'm misleading myself here, but it looked like Todd was quite young when this accident happened and he survived. Uh, Basically, all of this that led up to him taking his own life, after revealing like kind of a little bit of what went on in his life. We then see Amy in the diner winding up napkins for the silverware, and her friend at the diner are sitting down talking about the encounter with Todd. And Amy says, the friend asked Amy why she didn't call the police when he came to her home instantly. She did try, but he did have the gun on her. But then she later reveals that she felt kind of sorry for him in the end. And she said, the only thing anybody ever wants is to be loved by someone else. And she goes, I kind of relate. We're all like that. She goes, we all need companionship. Amy tells her friend, the other waitress, that she's leaving for California in 2 weeks, and she wants to try her hand at acting. And the friend wishes her the best of luck. We then see the doctor with Todd's ashes. I don't know if the state would have awarded the doctor the ashes, I guess, because Todd didn't have any other family, but he has Todd's ashes in an urn, and he starts to talk to Todd in the car. He has him on the seat, the ashes. He's saying, Todd, why'd you do this? Why'd you do this to yourself? You were so young, you didn't have to die. And you kind of feel like the doctor blames himself for misguiding Todd with the medication and the lack of, giving him more. I think he feels kind of obligated to Todd at this point, even though he's no longer on the earth. Um, Amy, Amy, the doctor, and his family are all trying to pick up the pieces at this point in the movie. Ordeal has made the family grow closer, it seems, which is kind of a godsend for the family. So even through tragic stuff, good does happen, and that's more or less what happens at this point. Some time passes, and Amy is headed to California, and she stops by her old stomping grounds, the diner, and talks to her friend. And this is when she's about to leave for good for California. It's a bit emotional between the two waitresses, more so the one that's going to stay and work at the diner. We then see the doctor checking his watch. This is the final scene in the movie. We later see the doctor checking his watch, like he's got another session, or maybe he's thinking of Todd in the sessions as well. He kind of like snickers a little bit. He walks away from his desk, and for some reason, the camera angle pans on the urn with Todd's ashes. It's almost acting like it's gonna like he's gonna be ghostly or something. That's the vibe I got. I don't think that's what they were going for, but it kind of ended like that. Like there was a reason for panning on that. Like he's not really gone. I don't know if maybe they're gonna think about making a sequel and it'd be like paranormal. I have no idea. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. But I really enjoyed this film. It kind of felt a little bit like 1 Hour Photo with Robin Williams, just a different setup, a different plot. It was a pretty fun little film. It flew by. I resonated with a lot of the things going on because, if you're not I'm a little bit socially awkward, so I kind of get where Todd at times was kind of maybe looking at it differently than everybody else, but this was a fun little film. And like I said, it was made for $100,000, and they did the best with what that 100,000 for the locales. They had some nice, little scenery backdrops and stuff for $100,000 film. It definitely felt much bigger than that to me. Maybe near the $1 million range. Maybe not quite that high, but they did a lot with very little. But it's a pretty good little thriller. It's not overly scary. There's really not much violence in it, really, per se, versus some stuff I review. But it was a good little thriller, and I do like a nice little taut thriller like this. I do recommend this one. But this is from Bayview Entertainment, and this is my review for this. Day is it? Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. And that's my review for Bayview Entertainment. And I do recommend this. I'd give this one a thumbs up. Please check out Bayview Entertainment on Roku. It's a free service. And you all have a good Tuesday, and I'll see you again, everybody. Bye.